We may have the biggest brains on the planet, but when it comes to senses, we can be seriously upstaged. Without landmarks, humans get lost. Yet beluga whales navigate hundreds of miles of floating ice. We need weather reports, but grasshoppers have inbuilt weather sensors. Raw nature reveals stories fit for science fiction in the strange world of animal senses. Just a few days ago, there were lush crops here. Then the plague came. These insects were once harmless grasshoppers, until a special sense turned them into a swarming menace. But what triggered this transformation? It began after 5 long years of drought. This grasshopper is on its own, looking for a quiet meal. The sensors it's using are typical for an insect. Multifaceted eyes spot plants at a distance. Feelers packed with receptors, touch, smell, and taste. There are also taste buds in its mouth, crammed into lips called palps. These are the final test as to whether it passes over a plant or decimates it. Predators are rife, so the grasshopper must be watchful. It's evolved 3 extra eyes to sense danger. 2 are hidden beneath the feelers, whilst the 3rd is between the multifaceted eyes. These special eyes detect movement and shadows cast by hunters. Grasshoppers don't normally like company, but starvation forces them together. It's now that their unique sense is activated. It's called the crowd sensor. The crowd sensor is made up of tiny hairs on the legs. When pushed for space, grasshoppers knock into their neighbors. The leg hairs are triggered. Then it's all change. Their color alters, their muscles expand. They begin a drastic transformation. Like an alien army on the march, this swarm mutates. Soon, they'll be able to fly. If crowding continues, the next generation will be monsters too. Instead of growing into gentle grasshoppers, the young develop into their menacing alter egos, locusts. The nymphs' bodies expand to a massive size. Their wings become clear and strong enough for flight. They take to the air en masse. Swarms can engulf an area the size of Bermuda, devouring everything in their wake. A single desert locust can eat its own weight in a day. That doesn't seem much, but when 1 billion locusts get together, it's the biggest feeding frenzy on the planet. After a year of mayhem, the locusts die off, and the next generation returns to its docile form. Thankfully, grasshoppers don't mutate very often. It takes at least 5 years of abnormally warm, dry weather, followed by a shower, to trigger the change. Without the remarkable crowd sensor in a grasshopper's legs, this monstrous swarm could never take flight and survive the unpredictable climate. In extreme conditions, whether hot or cold, finely tuned sensors make the difference between life and death. A golden eagle tears at the flesh of a stag killed in a blizzard. But how did the raptor secure such a massive meal? It's all down to the bird's superior senses. It's spring and a great time for hunting. Cliff-top living has great advantages. It's a safe place to nest. There are good vantage points and updrafts to soar on. The eagle has its pick of lookout posts, and it spends many hours surveying the area below. Unlike humans, eagles have 2 points of focus at the back of the eye, so they can look to the front and the side at the same time. It scans the landscape in wide-angle mode. Once it spots something, its eyes zoom in. It can see 8 times more detail than we can. It stays up high until it's directly over the prey. Once locked on, it plummets to the earth at speeds of almost 150 kilometers per hour. Its target remains crystal clear since it can rapidly change focus as it descends. It's a scene that will be replayed many times. But not every hare that's spotted is quite so easy. In winter, the eagle's eyesight is just as good, but white hares are scarce and blend into the background. Our eagle is forced to look for other prey. In wind and snow, our eyesight would be severely impeded, but the eagle has evolved a special inner eyelid. This acts like a windscreen wiper, but because it's transparent, the eagle never misses a trick. These deer are more visible than the hare, but they are too big for an eagle and come heavily armed. harsh weather is taking its toll. An eagle's best chance now is not to spot a kill, but a casualty. The raptor's eyes are its lifeline, whether hunting or scavenging. Without the superior sense of sight, this giant meal would have been lost under the snow. Head north to the Arctic, and the pressures are greater still. The polar bear and the beluga whale share this icy domain. So how do they survive life well below zero? It's all down to their specialized senses. But these senses are totally different. They've evolved in two different worlds. The belugas live below the ice, the polar bear above it. Somewhere beneath this ice sheet is a pod of whales. To breathe, they must come to the surface. Along the ice edge and within the loose pack ice, wind and currents create cracks. So how do the whales find breathing holes in this constantly changing landscape? The answer is echolocation. They emit a series of high-pitched clicks. These bounce off objects and return to the beluga in the form of an echo. In this way, they create a sound map of the area. Belugas have small ears, but sound is sensed mainly through their lower jaw. Fat inside the jawbone conducts sound waves to the middle ear. The message is then passed on to the brain and interpreted. In this ice-cluttered sea, echolocation means the whales know where to come up for air. Without it, they drown. But the need for breathing holes makes them vulnerable. Polar bears don't have sonar. But they do have other extraordinary senses for finding food in this icy desert. Like the eagle, their eyesight is acute. There's a lot of glare from the ice, so they have a protective membrane over their eyes, a bit like a pair of ski goggles. But it's their sense of smell that's truly astonishing. They can sniff out food more than 30 kilometers away. This bear has picked up a scent and is following its nose to the source. A hole in the ice where whales and seals come up to breathe. It will wait by this window of opportunity for hours. Eventually, something will have to come up for air. In the depths of winter, breathing holes are few and far between. The beluga is desperate for air. The bear strikes, but the whale's too quick. It sensed the bear's vibrations at the last minute. A lucky escape. It rejoins its pod. They have just enough air left to find the next hole. Polar bears rarely catch belugas unless they're old or sick. But sooner or later, the hole will offer up another potential meal. Waiting in ambush is not always an option for the bear. Because even the Arctic has a summer, if only a brief one. As temperatures rise, the ice sheets break up. The bear must return to the mainland to find food. Briefly, it enters the beluga's world. But this predator's super sense of smell is useless in the water. It closes its nostrils as it dives. Underwater, it can hear the tantalizing sound of belugas, but hunting in open water is far too difficult. The great melt has freed the whales, and they begin their annual migration. They head south to feeding areas that have been icebound for months. At 1.5 tons, belugas are built for mammoth migrations. But the next animal weighs less than a peanut, yet it too makes an epic journey. These monarch butterflies begin their adventure high in the mountains of Mexico. Their destination is Canada, 4,000 kilometers away. That's 1,000 kilometers further than the belugas travel. But without a map to guide them, how do these fragile travelers know which way to go? A whole range of navigational skills must be important. But good memory can't be one of them, because no single butterfly makes the entire journey. It's a 3-generation relay race. 3 times along the way, the butterflies breed, die, and then let their offspring continue the journey. So, if we rule out memory, what about smell? It guides them to food, but probably isn't strong enough to navigate by. Stars are another navigational tool, but the monarchs rest at night, so that rules them out. On bright days, it's thought the butterflies use the sun to guide them. But what happens when it's cloudy? Might it use its head? The head contains magnetite crystals. Could these line up with the Earth's magnetic field like a compass? As yet, we don't have enough sense to prove the theory. What we do know is that come summertime, the butterflies arrive to breed on the shores of Lake Erie. But this mnemonic generation has a twist. Its sense of direction is reversed. While its parents flew north, this swarm heads southwest. Even if they do have an internal compass, how does this new generation know to change course? The truth is, we just don't know. The feat of these delicate animals remains one of nature's most enduring mysteries. By comparison, this fly's senses appear to be rather simple. Otherwise, it wouldn't fall for a trick as basic as the Venus flytrap. Or would it? So is the fly as clueless as it seems? A fly's eyes are so large that there's little room for a brain to process information. Each is made up of hundreds of tiny eyes which work like miniature cameras, every one creating its own picture. The fly then pieces together all these images to form a mosaic-like vision of the world. It's thought that flies don't see movement, but a series of frozen images, rather like an old-fashioned movie. These compound eyes make the fly short-sighted, so their close vision is extremely powerful. A fly can see tiny details where we need a microscope. But the rest of the world is a blur. This fly can not only see what it's stepping in, but taste it too. Like many insects, they have taste receptors at the ends of their legs, on their snout, and on their wing cases. But while its feet tell it what to eat, they can also lead it into danger. The brightly colored glands on the inside of these leaves are designed to attract a short-sighted insect. It walks right into the trap. Its senses may be sharp, but this plant can outsmart them. Whilst the fly is covered in sense organs, this animal keeps its tricks up front. Smell is crucial to this bearded pig and his family. Food is well hidden in their Malaysian forest home. Without their big noses, they'd starve. But it's not just size that makes the snout an effective tool. The round disc of cartilage at the end is under fine muscle control. So a pig can search and sniff at the same time, and close up its nostrils to stop it getting a lung full of mud. The family has sniffed out all the food in this area. Now they must move on. In a year, they follow their noses across hundreds of kilometers of forested valleys. Without that sense of smell, family members could easily get lost. Each pig in the group has a signature scent, so leaders and followers can fall in line. Scents are also used to advertise emotions, define relationships, and reinforce family bonds. All important when stops are often brief. Some plants exploit this by mimicking the aroma of pig sex hormones. The plant benefits because its seeds get more widely dispersed, and the pig enjoys a hearty meal. While the snout picks up smells, the whiskery beard detects grubs and insects. But it's no time before they're on the move again. Next stop for the pigs is under a macaque troop. Instead of digging for their dinner, the pigs simply vacuum up the fruit that the monkeys have dropped. Pigs can, and will, eat almost anything. With everything invested in that snout, their eyesight has suffered. While other animals look out for potential threats, pigs probably have such poor eyesight that they can't even focus. So putting all your energy into a super snout can have its downside. Piggy eyes don't see trouble coming until it's far too late. These peccaries may be on the other side of the world from our boar, but they're just as smelly, and their pungent odor acts as a calling card to a major predator. The massive feline pulls back its lips to draw in the scent. It tracks the odor until it's close enough to spy its quarry. Each of the big cat's eyes has a highly reflective layer at the back. This layer throws light onto the retina, perfect if you live in dimly lit forest. Hunting on dry land isn't always an option for the jaguar. In a few weeks' time, this habitat will be unrecognizable. While the annual rainfall in most of the world is measured in centimeters, the Amazon has many meters of rain falling each year. For 6 months of the year, the trees are surrounded by water and fish swim through their tangled roots. If a jaguar wants to find food here, it must get its feet wet. It's a strong swimmer. But the water poses a problem. A turtle makes a perfect meal, but first, the cat has to find it. It can't see well underwater, so it feels for prey using its whiskers and paws. A massive head and stout canine teeth are ideal for cracking open this well-armored reptile. But it has no hope of catching faster prey in these murky depths. There's one mammal, however, that has truly mastered this underwater world. The giant otter. This animal's amazing senses make it equally at home in water and on dry land. Highly social, the otters live in small family groups of up to 9. They play, sunbathe, groom and hunt together. Their incessant chatter resonates through the jungle. Local people call these otters river wolves because they hunt in packs. Perfectly adapted for the murky river water, their streamlined bodies and paddle-like feet make them efficient and graceful swimmers. The otter's eyes and nostrils are high on its head. It can see and breathe even when the rest of the body is submerged. As soon as the head goes underwater, their nostrils close, like the polar bears. A special valve protects the ears against water pressure. This means they must rely almost entirely on vision. Fortunately, because they can change the shape of their eyeball, they can see as clearly under the water as they do at the surface. It's not a perfect solution. When the water's dirty, an animal would need X-ray vision to avoid obstacles and find food. Giant otters have the next best thing. These long, sensitive whiskers pick up the regular vibrations caused by fishes' tails as they swim away. The combination of touch and sight proves lethal. When killing a deadly piranha comes this easily, you know you're watching one of nature's most efficient hunters. The giant otter can adjust the shape of its eyes to cope with hunting in water. But the kingfisher has a different solution. Like the golden eagle, it has 2 points of focus, but instead of seeing forward and sideways, this little fisherman adjusts his eyes to see above and below water. It's the equivalent of a spear hunter putting on a mask. The kingfisher has 2 eyes in one. But there's another problem all anglers face. Light bends when it hits water. The distortion plays tricks on the eyes. An attacker must allow for this, or it will go hungry. So, instead of aiming straight on, the kingfisher aims for a spot slightly to the side of where the fish appears to be. An adult rarely misses. But it's not instinctive behavior. Young kingfishers must learn how to make the adjustment. If they don't catch on, they'll quickly starve. Some fish can outsmart the kingfisher. All fish have a lateral line that senses water movement. For these tetra, it's a lifesaver. When they feel the water move on one side of their body, a reflex makes them jerk in the opposite direction. Bad news for the kingfisher. Whilst it's difficult to hunt from air to water, it's no easier to hunt from water to air. In the rivers of Indonesia, these archerfish are stalking food in an unexpected place. A fly cleaning its wings is looking out for threats from the side or above. But the real danger is below. Unlike most fish, an archerfish's eyes face forward. This gives them binocular vision, similar to our own, so they can judge distance and direction. A perfectly aimed jet of water, and the fly's knocked from its perch. It may take several shots to floor the fly, but the gang takes turns until it loses its balance. The pack hunt like this all day long, but the one which gets there first eats the insect. Eventually, each archerfish gets its fill. To hunt alone would be too tiring and inefficient. But there is a way to get an even better strike rate. The archers have such accurate eyesight that they can pluck a fly from its perch. The archerfish lives in an environment that we can understand. The world of the monster you're about to see is decidedly alien. An eerie, darkened world of sea monsters. In the gloomy depths of the Sea of Cortez lurks the mighty Humboldt squid. These hunters can grow from the size of a sesame seed to over 2 meters in a year. That's like a human baby growing as big as a blue whale. To grow so fast to such monstrous proportions, they must eat constantly. But how do they find food in the black abyss? The answer is superior eyesight. When sunlight hits water, it splits into the colors of the rainbow. Red light gets absorbed quickly. Other colors travel further. And blue light penetrates the deepest of all. We can see these jellyfish at the surface because there's plenty of light. But as we drop down, the jellies vanish from view. At great depths, there's virtually no light. But the Humboldt squid's eyes are as big as tennis balls and contain a special filter to maximize the faintest glimmer. So whilst we see nothing, the Humboldt squid sees an abyss that is teeming with life. A recent discovery suggests the squid can hear too. Fine hairs along the head and arms detect disturbances in the water from fish up to 30 meters away. Acute eyesight and hearing make the squid an awesome hunter. Its nickname is the Red Devil, a creature rumored to pull sailors to their deaths. Next, we reveal an animal with an even greater appetite for destruction. Sharks are one of the most feared animals on Earth. Given the amount of press they get, you'd think we're familiar with their senses. So how did these sharks know that fish were hiding beneath these rocks? Let's take a closer look at these well-designed killers. Sharks were once thought of as swimming noses. Their acute sense of smell was at the expense of their other senses. The shark's nose is definitely one of its most impressive and prominent features. As it moves, water enters the nasal passage and flows over sensory cells. In the great white shark, these sensitive cells can detect a single drop of blood in an area the size of an Olympic swimming pool. The nostrils receive a scent at very slightly different times, so the shark can gauge its direction, effectively smelling in stereo. People wrongly assume that sharks have poor eyesight. In fact, many sharks have vision that's up to 10 times more sensitive to light than our own. What's more, a shark's eyes are on the side of the head, so they see a wide field of view. In hammerheads, this creates a weirdly distorted view of the world. But what really distinguishes a shark's senses from ours are two super senses we simply don't have. The first is that fish favorite, the lateral line. It runs down the side of the shark's body from nose to tail. As water flows over the skin, the lateral line detects microscopic disturbances and alerts the shark to possible victims. The lateral line is so precise that even a blindfolded shark can home in on prey. But the lateral line can't help if your victim isn't moving. So how do the sharks find fish hiding in coral? The answer, amazingly, is electricity. Although we can't feel it, every living creature sends out an electrical message each time a muscle moves. Sharks have evolved an organ in their snout which detects these tiny currents. They can sense them at up to ½ a meter. So for these fish, there's no place to hide. Life in the sea is tough, a case of eat or be eaten. Only those with the most finely tuned senses will survive. Our understanding of how animals experience the world is influenced by the limits of our own 5 senses. We can't see in ultraviolet, sense electricity, or taste through our toes. So some of raw nature's senses are destined to remain a mystery. Family life in the wild can be friendly, frantic, and downright terrifying. In raw nature, we meet all sorts of families. Some live together, others play together, and some even eat each other. Father, mother, aunt, uncle, the kids. African hunting dogs live in large families. Their home life paints a gentle picture. But there's a much darker side to this family. Vicious, deadly, brutal. Away from home, this clan goes straight for the guts. Caring at home, killers on the plains. When it comes to family life, some of these dogs make dramatic sacrifices. Hunting dogs live in tightly knit groups of around 10 related dogs, led by a dominant male and female. This pair are normally the only ones who breed. But the whole family helps rear their pups. As the father guards his brood, the other adults have important jobs to do. Suckling, playing, keeping guard. Aunts and uncles have a vital role in family life. but it comes at a heavy price. They sacrifice their own right to have children for the good of the family at large. The alpha female can have as many as 21 pups in a single year. If other adults bred, there'll be too many mouths to feed. The family hierarchy is reinforced by scent, play, and nuzzling. It's clear who's the boss, so there's no vicious infighting. When it's time for a meal, the father gathers his clan, and some of the aunties and uncles take their turn to babysit. The family business is team pursuit. Wild dogs are the most efficient hunters in Africa, catching up to 80% of the prey they chase. They don't rely on stealth, they rely on speed. One dog leads until it tires, then another dog takes its turn. It's like a deadly relay race. So it goes until one unfortunate victim is separated from the herd and its escape routes blocked. As the luckless animal tires, the dogs use teamwork to bring it down. Uninvited guests are soon chased away. Their stomachs are the safest place to store food. Once home, they regurgitate it for the children and the babysitters. The pack's blood ties are so great that should the pup's parents die, the aunties and uncles will adopt them. Ultimately, it's their sacrifices that make this family so strong. It's clear they're a close-knit unit. But guessing the structure of an animal family by the way it looks isn't easy. On the edge of Uganda in Central Africa, two pig families live side by side. Warthogs and giant forest hogs. They may look similar and even share bathing space, but there are differences. Giant forest hogs are the biggest wild pigs in the world, weighing nearly 300 kilograms. Tufts of coarse hair, short tusks, long tails, they're a formidable sight. Warthogs are smaller, but have huge shovel-shaped heads, much more imposing tusks, and, as their name suggests, a mass of lumpy growths on their face. They certainly wouldn't win any beauty contests. But the biggest difference between these families is down to the dads. African giant hogs live in groups of up to 10. They don't just rely on size for safety, they rely on strong family bonds. Like wild dogs, giant hog fathers, uncles, aunties, and brothers take an active role in family life and help guard the young. Wallowing is a favorite pastime, but there can be competition for bathing space. They'd rather not share, but father knows hippos aren't a threat and leads them in. Under the watchful eye of the dominant male, the giant forest hog family is a solid unit. Unlike their neighbors, the warthogs. Warthog fathers are very different. They're loners. Organizing family life is a sister act. Apart from mating, these dads take absolutely no responsibility for their offspring. It's the females that raise the young and share the suckling. With no males about, they have to protect their families as well. This leopard knows better than to tangle with a warthog mother. Warthogs can be ferocious. They've poor eyesight, but a keen sense of smell, and charge at speeds of up to 50 kilometers per hour. They've been known to kill lions with a single swipe of their tusks. The father, meanwhile, remains alone and aloof. His children seem to irritate him, and if they get too inquisitive, he chases them off. Baby warthogs have no real reason to fear their father or any male warthogs. But for other youngsters, the very opposite is true. Australian saltwater crocodile families have good reason to fear males of their own kind. The salty is the most aggressive crocodile in the world and the biggest reptile on the planet. It's a deadly combination. Female salties are just as aggressive about caring for their young. Mothers choose nesting sites near water so they can remain on guard and the hatchlings don't have to travel too far. Temperature affects this family more than most. If the heat of the nest is 31.6 degrees, the eggs produce male babies, but any higher or lower, and it's females. When the eggs hatch, the mother uses her bone-crushing jaws to gentler effect. Here they're guarded in a crocodile creche by mothers and aunts. But despite their best efforts, only 1 out of 10 babies survive until adulthood. As the infants grow older and bolder, they venture further away from the safety of their creches. Further downstream, there are some familiar but deadly faces. Female crocodiles recognize the calls and maybe even the scent of their own offspring. Unfortunately, there are no such bonds between the young and their fathers. Cannibalism is rife in these rivers. To adult males, anything that moves is fair game. Even their own children. In the Amazon, a group of young arowana fish are also within striking distance of their father's jaws. He opens wide, and in an instant, they're engulfed. Is this another example of animal cannibalism? Remarkably not. It's the opposite. The young fish's father has offered his children the ultimate sanctuary, his own body. The arowana is a skillful hunter. Lurking in the shadows of an overhanging tree, he waits for a hapless victim. Once the spider is locked in his sights, the big fish pounces, his jaws put to deadly use. But when it comes to looking after his own, it's a different story. Young arowana feed off egg sacs attached to their own bellies. But in the murky depths of the Amazon, there are plenty of predators ready to eat them. For the first few weeks of his children's vulnerable lives, the father resists all urges to feed himself. His mouth has more important matters to tend to. Sensing a threat, he opens his jaws, a cue for the young fish fry to swim in. The urge to protect outweighs his urge to swallow, and the fry stay put until danger's past. Arowanas are a rare case of single dads in the animal world. Birds tend to split parental responsibilities right down the middle. King cormorants have incredibly strong family bonds, vital when they live in huge colonies. Females lay their eggs in November. When the chicks hatch in December, they're ravenous. Adult birds travel great distances to hunt out schools of fish to feed their hungry young. After an arduous trip, the parents' hard work's not over. They still have to find their families. One colony can be home to 1 million birds. The young are hungry and curious and can wander from their nest site, often into an angry neighbour's territory. Amid a cacophony of screeching, parents have to home in on their own chicks' unique calls. It's an unenviable task. But despite the almost insurmountable odds, parents won't give up until they've found their offspring. Reunited, the demands are immediate. The chick begs and reaches deep into its parent's mouth to retrieve the hard-won meal. Without such utterly devoted parents, cormorant chicks would be left hopelessly alone in a crowd. Other bird families thrive on isolation. Deep in the rainforests of Africa, 2 birds are hatching a plan. A young bird peers through a narrow slit in a tree. Why has it been walled into this wooden cell? To find out, we need to meet this prisoner's parents. A pair of African silvery-cheeked hornbills scour the forest looking for a suitable nesting place. Once a home's been found, the female prepares to be barricaded in. Her mate collects mud from the forest floor and mixes it with spit. He now has a ready-made cement to deliver to his mate. The female plasters over the opening until only a small slit remains. There's just enough room inside to receive food parcels and tend an egg, but any predators are walled out. After 6 weeks, her egg hatches. For the next 2.5 months, mother and baby are totally dependent on food delivered by the father. The male brings his family as many as 50 figs at a time. His huge, lightweight beak makes this an easy task. After being well fed and cared for by the father, 4 months later, it's time to break out. The chick is the first to leave and sees his father clearly for the first time. Finally, the mother squeezes herself free. Incarceration is a strange way to treat your family, but for the hornbills, it's a successful solution. In the muddy rivers of the Amazon, tiny captives seem stuck in a more hellish prison. Baby toads writhe and twist to escape from a warty web. But it's not a predator which has captured them. This strange net is in fact the young amphibian's nursery. It's the spongy skin of their own mother's back. Peeper toads are voracious feeders, but have no tongue or teeth, so have to shovel and suck food into their huge mouths. They breed during the rainy season when the temperature drops. The male peeper fertilizes between 40 and 100 eggs, then presses them into the female's back. Over the next 24 hours, her skin swells and bubbles around the eggs. By 10 days, her back looks like a honeycomb from hell. Each egg is embedded in its own chamber, where the young take 3 months to develop. As the tiny toads push and prize their way to freedom, the mother sheds her skin, and with it, her children and parental duties. The youngsters swim off in search of food. Eventually, they too will mate and start their own warty families. Some animals keep their children close to their chest. The red kangaroo is one of the most protective parents on the planet. Their huge Z-shaped legs make walking impossible, but are perfect for hopping. Using tails for balance, they power huge leaps of up to 8 meters and at speeds of up to 65 kilometers. Their legs are also useful for defense and for fighting amongst themselves. During the mating season, male kangaroos kick and punch for the right to have a family. But kickboxing, punching, and speed don't guarantee complete safety, even when you're the largest of Australia's marsupials. Attacks by dingoes are frequent and ferocious. Attacks by wedge-tailed eagles may be rare, but can be deadly. A mother doesn't take any chances with predators. She keeps her baby so close, it's inside her skin. The first journey a young kangaroo, or joey, takes is a short crawl through its mother's fur into her pouch. The bean-sized baby clamps itself to her teat. Too young to suck, the mother pumps milk into its mouth. After 3 or 4 months, the little kangaroo pokes its head outside for the first time, but it remains in the pouch for another 3 months before it's ready to take its first hop outside. It's vital they keep cool, so mother and baby constantly search for water and shade. If they can't find any, a spit bath helps. The saliva evaporates under the hot sun and it cools them down. At 8 months, the joey is evicted and loses its taxi service for good. But the mother's care doesn't end there. He stays close for another year. But other parents find it almost impossible to abandon their young. In the searing heat of an African afternoon, a female zebra approaches her foal. The young animal is still. Vultures close in, gently riding the thermal air currents as they hover and wait. They know their time will come. The zebra foal has died, but the mother won't leave her dead offspring. Time and again, she charges at the approaching scavengers. Eventually, she can do no more. But in this unforgiving land, one family's loss is another's gain. If the hyena mother doesn't feed her cubs, they'll go hungry or die. There's no extended family to care for them. Even the smallest scrap of meat is worth grabbing. The zebra can only watch. Soon, she will be in season again and ready to mate. Ultimately, it is the urge to breed again which makes her release her foal. But other parents abandon their children the very second they're conceived. The offspring's survival then becomes a lottery, a numbers game. Many marine animals play this game, but none quite like the Californian grunion, an extraordinary fish out of water. During the high spring tides, thousands of grunions surf ashore to take part in a bizarre spawning frenzy. Once beached, female grunions frantically dig their tails and bodies into the wet sand. When half submerged, they lay up to 3,000 eggs. The males then wrap around the squirming females and spray the eggs with sperm to fertilize them. Whilst the males search relentlessly for more mates, the females writhe and wriggle free. The grunion's brief family life is now over, and the adults try to get back to the sea. But many mouths take advantage of a free-for-all fish supper. For those which survive, all parental responsibilities are now over. The eggs develop quickly. After 14 days, disturbed by water and waves, they burst open. Like their parents, the young fry head for the sea. Straight into the mouths of waiting predators. They die in their thousands. Few will make it to adulthood. Grunion families play the survival game by the very harshest of rules: total abandonment. If you're going to desert your young, you don't have to leave them totally unprepared. In Arizona, a deadly 8-legged killer is on the prowl. Tarantulas don't bother with webs. They hunt in the open. Most bugs they encounter stand no chance. But when lured from its burrow by an innocuous-looking wasp tapping the ground, the tarantula turns and flees. Why? Because this is a pepsis wasp, also known as the tarantula hawk wasp. The pepsis wasp is a nectar feeder, but its young are carnivores. They need meat. To secure their future, the wasp gets up close and aims its sting at the spider's soft underbelly. Once deployed, it waits for the venom to work. The tarantula is dazed, drugged, but still alive. The wasp then lays eggs on its abdomen. When they hatch, the larvae eat the tarantula from the inside out, keeping it alive as long as possible. The mother wasp is giving her offspring the perfect legacy, a safe place to grow and flesh to eat. Dragged into a new burrow, the spider's fate is sealed. It has become a living larder. There's another way to abandon your young and still keep them fed. get someone else to do all the hard work for you. In the mountains of northern Europe, one family is about to come under attack. Hidden inside a reed bed, a warbler is brooding her eggs, but she doesn't realize she's being watched. A cuckoo is spying from a nearby tree. It's looking for a nest, and the warbler's small home is perfect. When the coast is clear, the cuckoo makes its move. It removes one of the warbler's eggs and replaces it with its own. The warbler returns none the wiser. Two weeks later, the cuckoo's egg hatches. The chick is weak, but its immediate instinct is as cunning as its mother's. It flips the remaining warbler chicks out of the nest. This murderous act guarantees its foster parents' undivided attention. All summer long, both male and female warblers work tirelessly to feed the oversized imposter. Even when the cuckoo leaves the nest, the unwitting warblers keep on feeding it until their foster chick departs for Africa. However, this is an evolutionary battle, and the warblers are fighting back. By shifting their breeding seasons and hiding their eggs, they can try to outwit the tricksters. But in this case, these warblers lost the battle. The cuckoo isn't the only cunning parent in these mountains. Fluttering through the meadows is the large blue butterfly. Large blues lay their eggs on flowers. When the defenseless young hatch, they fall to the ground. But these infant butterflies have a cunning way of ensuring their safety. They secrete a chemical which makes them smell like an ant larva. And sure enough, despite the difference in shape and size, ants are food. They drag it back to their nest. Then, willing workers take it to their nursery, where it will be fed and protected throughout the long winter months. Having been well looked after by its adopted family, the larva emerges as a butterfly 2 months later. Through trickery, cuckoos and blue butterflies exploit others' homes without confrontation. But encounters between families aren't always so peaceful. On the plains of Africa, there's an age-old clash of the clans. Two big cat families live side by side and eat from the same table. Disagreements over food can be incredibly savage. Two cheetah cubs slaughtered, but not for food. To find out why, we need to understand the turf war between a single parent and a family firm. The mother cheetah is raising her young on her own. Her mate has no involvement with his family. She must leave her 4 cubs alone when she goes to drink or hunt. The plains are a perfect hunting ground, but they're also a deadly neighborhood, and not just for the herbivores. Whilst their mother's away, the cheetah cubs stay still, quiet, and hidden. Their survival depends on not being spotted. But these two are inquisitive and stray from their hiding place, straight into the line of fire. A fearsome gang patrols the area, seeking to establish new territory. Amongst the grass, they make their mark in the most savage way. The mother's had a successful trip. She's eaten enough meat so she'll be able to suckle her cubs. But her day is about to take a tragic turn. A lioness would happily attack a cheetah, so despite the danger to her cubs, self-preservation takes over. When the lions have left, the cheetah returns to the scene of a slaughter. Two of her cubs lie dead, victims of the brutal turf war. The lioness has killed them not to eat, but to eliminate a rival predator, to ensure her own cubs get the food they need. The sound of gentle mewling calls the mother from this desperate scene. The two cubs that stayed hidden are safe. The remaining members of the family leave in search of a new home. For now, the lions have the upper hand, but although they force this family to move on, one day the fully grown cheetah cubs may return and steal food from right under the pride's noses. The battle between the big cats is far from over. There are many different families in the wild. Families who care, families who don't, and families that kill. Whatever the demands on family life, it's never easy in raw nature. In the wild, size makes a big difference. And not just at the extreme ends of the scale. The way animals are built can seem bizarre. To get things in proportion takes clues from the present and the past. Even the most unlikely creatures have some very tall tales to tell. At 5 or 6 meters, giraffes tower above all other animals. A third of that height is neck, a quarter of a ton of muscle supported by just 7 bones, exactly the same number of vertebrae as us. Each leg is close to 2 meters long, with hooves the size of dinner plates. To keep all this going takes 55-litre lungs and a heart 2/3 of a metre wide. Even baby giraffes are big. They have to be. 2 meters is just tall enough to reach their mother's milk. But giraffes aren't just freaks standing head and shoulders above the crowd. They have a fascinating story to tell. They're so outsized, they need help to get themselves clean. How did evolution create such an extraordinary animal? One theory says it was predation. Their immense size deters carnivores. Giraffes are so big that they don't really need to hide. In fact, their feet can be used as offensive weapons. One powerful kick from the front legs can kill a lion. Only young or sick giraffes are at risk. But this theory doesn't explain the giraffe's bizarre proportions. Its diet provides a better explanation for the long neck and legs. Acacia trees are the giraffe's favorite food and the oldest of its adversaries. Their shape is designed to stop browsers. Many of them just can't reach the best shoots, and thorns are a formidable barrier. But the giraffe gets round them with an especially tough mouth, puncture-proof lips, and a tongue with a 20-centimetre reach. So even though the acacia puts toxins called tannins into branches that are overgrazed, the giraffe can always move on to newer, tastier leaves elsewhere. There's no doubt that a giraffe's height is a real advantage when it comes to food. But it's probably not the complete explanation for its very long neck, because a female's neck tends to be 2/3 of a metre shorter than a male's. If being able to forage higher and higher were the only reason for this most distinctive feature, females and giraffes would have become extinct. It seems there's one other possible explanation. and is to do with battles between giraffes themselves. Males roam freely, trying to mate with as many females as they can. To size each other up, they engage in ritualized necking. The bigger the neck, the more chance a male has of defeating his rivals and winning a mate. Bloodthirsty predators, aggressive plants, enemies within. But which of these reasons got the giraffe's neck and legs growing in the first place? The jury's still out. Nobody's ever found a fossil of an in-between sized giraffe to give us a clue. Although this savanna giant is a very familiar figure, the reasons it looks like this are still out of our reach. Giraffes are big-time browsers, but animals needn't be the height of a house to make their mark on an acacia. Quick, agile, more vertebrae than the giraffe, but a 20th of the height, bush hyraxes are the unsung gardeners of Africa's savanna. They adore acacia shoots, and at only 2 kilograms, they're plenty nimble enough to get them. Again and again. Each mouthful may be small, but the nibbles add up, and frequent visits change the shape of trees. It's not just the giant impact these rabbit-sized browsers have on acacias that makes them impressive, because it turns out the little hyrax is hiding a big secret. To find out why, you have to look very closely. Foot bone structure, skull shape, tooth arrangement, a gestation period 7 times longer than other mammals of similar size, and well-developed young at birth. Where does the hyrax get these odd characteristics? It can't have adapted them from other hoof-plane animals. Its ancestors much older, and the anatomy just doesn't add up. In fact, the clue is that hyraxes used to be bigger, much bigger. 50 million years ago, giant hyraxes were the most common grazers on the African plains. Fossils show they were as big as hippos, but they're not descended from hippos. Hyraxes share a common ancestor with an even more unlikely animal, the elephant. Just like the hyrax, it's got a long gestation period, gives birth to well-developed young, and shares similar anatomical features. So although at first glance, elephant and hyrax look so completely different, they're in fact each other's closest living relatives on land. Big hyrax were outcompeted by hoofed mammals like antelope. Only the small ones remained, confined to rocky outcrops and trees where they could take cover. Elephants went the opposite way. They grew so big, no animal could match them for munch power. An adult eats 200 kilograms of vegetation a day to fuel its 4-ton bulldozer-sized body. They're so big, no carnivore dares touch them. The telescopic trunk is a neat solution to reaching as high as a gangly giraffe, while keeping a compact body shape overall. But living up to being the largest land mammal has its downsides. Elephants are so big, they easily overheat. Unlike their closest relatives, it's not easy to find shade. Big bodies take a long time to cool down. That's why oversized ears act as blood-cooling radiators, and water is a godsend. Everything about an elephant is huge, but other animals feature just one outsized body part. Bat-eared foxes are aptly named. They're only half a meter high, but ears account for almost a third of that. So why do they have such big ears? Food is the key. Most members of the dog family catch mammals, but these feisty little foxes go for much smaller prey. Insects. They make up 80% of its diet. Bugs are very nutritious, but they're tiny. So bat-eared foxes must constantly forage. They need at least 3 square kilometers of desert to get their fill. Often, this territory is based around a colony of termites, their favorite food. It's exhausting work, but each snack doesn't last long. As night sets in, this female's off again. With ears cocked, she homes in on something moving beneath the soil. Swiveling her huge ears back and forth, she fixes the sound's exact position. Excavation is swift. Although bugs are the norm, bigger snacks are sometimes on its radar. But while her ears are super sensitive, her eyesight isn't that good. With her head down low, she's unaware this lioness is so close. Fortunately, the lioness is also distracted by a softer target. Leaving the vixen to keep her head down elsewhere. When not being stalked, bat-eared foxes' enormous ears are a practical solution to everyday life. But our next animal's headgear seems more of a hindrance than a help. Male caribou have highly improbable and impractical-looking antlers. At 1.5 meters long, they can be taller than the rest of their body and weigh nearly as much as the head. To be this impressive, antlers have to be a big deal for caribou, especially as they need so much energy elsewhere. They're constantly on the move, migrating up to 1,000 kilometers every year. Traveling this far with so much excess baggage doesn't seem to make sense. Why do they do it? Although both sexes have antlers, each has a very different use for them. Females are much shorter and are used as snow plows during winter when her calf has trouble grazing. But a male's antlers are used for sexual conquest. The longer they are, the more chance he has of winning a mate. Often, just displaying an enormous pair of antlers is enough to make a lesser male back down. Growing such outlandish headgear seems even more surprising when you consider what caribou live on. Lichen, almost exclusively. It has very little nutritious value and lacks calcium, antler's main ingredient. So this mineral has to be robbed from the rest of the skeleton. Doing this once is tough on the body, but caribou do it again and again, shedding their antlers in autumn to regrow them in the spring. Although antlers seem an expensive handicap, they have a very particular purpose. If males can afford such large and extravagant displays, it shows they're in great health to win females. And they rarely have to lock horns to prove the point. As a last resort, caribou use their antlers to fight. But other animals' accessories seem to have no practical use whatsoever. African widder birds. Their outsized body part is totally for show. Only the males have this ridiculous adornment. Females are brown, nondescript, and much more ordinary looking. Males are black, and their tails can be half a meter long, as much as 2 or 3 times the rest of their body. This doesn't just make flight difficult, it leaves them vulnerable to disease too, as trailing feathers attract dirt and parasites. But it's worth being a fashion victim. Large tails are a big hit with the ladies. That's because a beautifully preened tail is hard to maintain. The slightest weakness or ill health will show in these feathers. So if a male can look good in spite of his handicap, there's an excellent chance he'll make a great father. Supersized features are even more intriguing when animals look like us. Proboscis monkeys are average-sized primates, but the male's nose is far from regular. This snout may seem comical or even grotesque by human standards, but the females of this species won't have their mates any other way. The nose takes time to develop. Young males hang about in bachelor groups until they've got the flesh to impress. So why the funny face? Is it just another frivolous fashion? Possibly not. The larger the snout, the bigger the core. A useful alarm when watching out for a harem spread across the Asian jungle. The bigger the racket, the better the protection. By choosing a male with a big nose, females get partners who are mature enough to make great security guards. Halfway around the world in the Amazonian rainforest, attacks come without warning. Visibility is restricted. Branches that provide cover can just as easily mask a predator that hunts all these creatures, big and small. The harpy, the largest eagle in the world. But isn't a dense, tangled forest a strange place for such a big bird to live? This magnificent raptor can be over 1 meter tall and weigh up to 9 kilos. That's at least twice the weight of any other eagle in the world. Yet, for its size, it has a remarkably short wingspan, just 2 meters from tip to tip. It doesn't need long wings. In the jungle, there's little use for high soaring flight. Instead of length, a harpy's wings have depth. As it silently launches itself from a tree, its broad wings act like a parachute. To build up momentum for an attack, most eagles focus on speed, but there's little room to accelerate here. So the harpy relies on bulk to pack a deadly punch. On the whole, harpies are loners, only ever getting together to breed. Females are at least 1/3 larger than males, so they bring home the biggest prey. Tufts of head feathers funnel sounds into the ears, helping the eagle to pinpoint its victim before it leaves the perch. When stealth meets sloth, the results are deadly. Centimeter-long dagger-like talons penetrate flesh and kill the prey simultaneously. A female harpy is so strong that she can airlift a victim weighing as much as she does. Sloths make up 1/3 of their diet and are a welcome meal for a chick destined to become the biggest eagle in the world. When it comes to size versus aerodynamics, harpy eagles can't afford to compromise. But that's exactly what the next big bird's done. It has trouble even getting off the ground, let alone mastering the skies. Secretary birds are eagles, but they're unlikely ones. 1.5 meters high, heavy and gangly, it's a bad combination for liftoff. Flying has become a real big deal, so this bird spends most of its time grounded. Long, thin legs are an ungainly undercarriage, but they provide an excellent mobile vantage point among tall grasses. It walks with a purposeful gait, traveling up to 30 kilometers a day to find prey. It's looking for rodents, reptiles, and insects. And when it finds them, it starts to stamp. It flushes the prey out and kills it with violent blows. When the victims stop moving, it's swallowed whole. Tough, scaly legs resist snake bites, but just to be safe, well-aimed kicks break the snake's spine, a quick dispatch. But being preoccupied for too long can be dangerous. Luckily, a secretary bird's strong legs and flat feet are great for sprinting, often its best means of escape. But this jackal's persistent. That's when Plan B comes into play. If this secretary bird was any bigger, it might never have made it. Giving up flight would be suicidal for a bird here. Unless it's big, really big, like the ostrich. At 2.5 meters tall and weighing up to 180 kilograms, ostriches are the largest birds in the world. And with a 10-centimeter long claw on each foot and a powerful kick, they can kill a jackal. For the ostrich, extreme size wins over flight any day. Birds and mammals can control their body temperature, but reptiles are slaves to the sun. This is Australia's parenti. At 2 meters long and 15 kilograms, this monitor is one of the biggest lizards in the world. The problem is, the larger it gets, the more warming up it takes. It's a slow start in the morning to get to its optimum temperature of 35 degrees. So scavenging is easier than pursuing prey. But after a good bask, this animal becomes a formidable killer. The voracious parenti is in fact only a shadow of its ancestors, 8-meter-long sea monsters called mosasaurs. Modern life doesn't favor large monitors. It's warm-blooded mammals who are quicker off the mark that have become today's top predators. So it's no wonder that the biggest lizard in the world lives in a land that time forgot. Komodo Island, Indonesia. Home to a 3-meter, 70-kilogram beast. Big predatory mammals never reached here to steal this dragon's crown. So it's able to go about life at its own pace, part hunter, part scavenger. The confines of the island mean that prey has few places to hide. Before the Komodo dragons warmed up, there's an uneasy truce. But the magic of the sun brings out the awesome power of its ancestors. And the Komodo's ready to launch an attack. The only place that reptiles get bigger than the Komodo dragon is also out of bounds to many mammals: the water. A male saltwater crocodile can grow up to 7 meters in length and weigh half a ton. It's the largest, most dangerous reptile in the world. But out of the water, it's a poor mover. Its splayed legs can't support its bulk, and it's hopeless at hounding prey. Take a croc by surprise on land, and it's more likely to flee than attack. Land is for nesting, and that reptilian favorite, basking. Crocs are in no hurry. They go for months without eating. In their sluggish world, a slow metabolism gives them a big advantage over mammals who must hunt every day. They wait, and they wait, until the victim comes to them. The launch takes only seconds, an impressive move considering their size. After so much sun and rest, the energy explodes. Powerful jaws smash and tear the carcass into easily swallowed chunks. A scene of ambush from before the mammals, and even older than the dinosaurs. When hunting, monitor lizards and crocodiles rely on brawn. But there are other ways for reptiles to bring prey down. It's not the size of this one that's remarkable, but the power of its venom. This nighttime predator is ridiculously overarmed. It's a western taipan, the most venomous snake in the world. The 1.5-meter long body is fronted by fangs that deliver a 60-milligram shot of venom. Enough to kill several humans, and far, far more than it needs to paralyze a rat. Against rodents, this is complete overkill. But the supersized toxin may be more about defense than attack. When large marsupials roamed Australia, the threat of this snake's venom was vital to keep them away. Now rats are on the receiving end of that legacy. Their bodies are flooded with proteins that break down blood cells, knock out the nerves, and stop the heart. Fortunately, taipans rarely attack anything as big as a human, except when cornered. There's no point. Their meals are limited by the stretch of their jaws. The largest reptiles may have disappeared from our world, but taipans and their toxic kind ensure that snakes still command huge respect. The next snake may be small and lack venom, but it still uses chemicals to make up for its size. It's found in Canada, where it overwinters in limestone caves in vast numbers. Thousands emerge from hibernation every spring, just as the plains warm up. They're red-sided garter snakes, and the smaller, dowdier males are out first. At 800 grams, the females are nearly twice as heavy as the males, and there are fewer of them. Competition to mate is intense. As males are slight, physical combat is limited. They've gone for a more stealthy strategy. Garter snakes use pheromones to tell the difference between the sexes. Hundreds of males can be driven wild by a female's aroma. But not every male plays by the rules. This one is emitting female pheromones, fooling his rivals to flock to him. Then he cuts loose from the deception to find a female all for himself. Once mated, a copulatory plug keeps his sperm safe inside her and emits another chemical signal to keep competitors away. The bigger a female, the more eggs she can make. But for males, it's pheromones that carry the weight. Redback spiders also show remarkable differences between the sexes. Only females have a red hourglass marking on their backs. Their bite can kill a human. Skillful hunters, they trap prey in untidy, sticky webs. They're not big spiders, only 1 centimeter across, but they're still 60 times heavier than the male redback. The tiny males don't make webs. They perch on the fringe of a female's web, eating her leftovers and waiting for a chance to mate with her. Catching her at the wrong moment can be fatal. She could easily mistake him for prey. He manages to win her over, but he's still playing with fire. To secure her attention, he points his abdomen towards her jaws. Using 2 special mouth parts called palps, he transfers his sperm. Mid-delivery, his lover can barely contain her excitement. Before he has time to insert his second palp, she squirts digestive juices all over him. She's turning him from mate into meal. It's a terrible fate, but his deed is done, and the future of his genes is assured. The female stores sperm over several years, so each time she lays a batch of eggs, they've been fertilized by one of her tiny partners. Each of these sacs holds around 250 eggs, and she can produce a new batch every few weeks. The female redback is certainly much larger than her mate, but she's a lot smaller than some of her relatives. If you want to see a really big spider, head for Trinidad. The metallic pink-toe tarantula is bulky, 12 centimeters across. It doesn't weave a web. Instead, it uses silk to make a camouflaged home. Like all spiders, it has a hard outer casing called an exoskeleton. These protruding hairs sense the vibrations of approaching insects. Perfect for timing an ambush. The exoskeleton works like a system of levers powered by muscles attached to its inner walls. The casing also supports the spider's primitive lungs and body cavities. It's an efficient setup, as the pink-toe demonstrates. But this isn't the world's largest tarantula. That award goes to the the Goliath bird-eating spider. Weight 170 grams, width 25 centimeters. It's big, but why don't spiders get any bigger? Bad circulation is one reason. Their tissues are just bathed in blood and not directly fed by vessels. A larger body would mean not enough oxygen to go around. Then there are structural problems. With no bones for internal bracing, a large exoskeleton risks caving in. But there's one place that creatures with exoskeletons can grow bigger: underwater. Lobsters have no problem getting enough oxygen from the sea. They have 20 pairs of pale, feathery gills inside their shell and a special pump to fan water over them. These spiny lobsters can grow to 80 centimeters, but even larger ones can be vulnerable, so they gang together when they migrate for self-protection. Like all animals with exoskeletons, they continue to grow throughout their life, and this puts them in real danger. As a lobster's soft center grows, its shell becomes an ever-tightening corset. So it's eventually forced to shed its armor, a perilous moment. Free of the old shackles, it can grow 20% larger. The new exoskeleton quickly hardens, but it's only a few months before internal growth prompts the next costume change. Small young lobsters molt frequently, so they grow fast. Older, larger lobsters shed less often, but this is actually to their advantage. Out on the open seabed, a hard, spiky coat provides vital defense. Having sized it up, this turtle decides to wait for a softer option. But these triggerfishes aren't so easily deterred. Their strong jaws and teeth can defeat the best suit of armor. If a lobster manages to escape predation, molt after molt, year after year, it can live to a ripe old age. The largest on record was estimated at 100 years old. It weighed a staggering 20 kilos and was about a meter long. But such success is rare. If you want to hit the big time, it's best not to rely on an exoskeleton. To make a huge impression, you need an internal skeleton. And it's best to live underwater, where there's great support for size. The ocean takes up 70% of the world's surface and contains 1,260 million trillion liters of water. So there's plenty of room for the largest carnivorous fish on the planet. 6.4 meters in length. Stood on end, it would be 4 times taller than an average man. The great white shark. Like all other large carnivores, they have an efficient range of sensors. Used in sequence, each helps the shark home in like a guided missile. The scent of blood and other body fluids draw a shark towards prey up to a kilometer off. Within about 25 meters, a great white's eyesight takes over. Electrical pulses emitted from the prey also give the game away. A great white's torpedo-shaped body is packed with power. Enormous bursts of energy come straight from specially designed muscles that drive its tail. It strikes with tremendous force, knocking a seal right out of the water. (3,007 centimeter long serrated teeth pulverize prey in seconds. But these jaws haven't always been the biggest. There was once a killer 4 times the size, the Tyrannosaurus Rex of the ocean. To meet this monster, you must go back more than 2 million years. Humpback whales are one of the largest mammals that ever lived. But back then, they were an ideal meal for an ancient shark. Megalodon, a truly gigantic killer. It ate anything it could get its 2-meter-wide jaw around. Even great whites. At 15 meters and 25 tons, Megalodon left a trail of destruction in its wake. Great whites were completely outgunned, but they did have one advantage. Their muscles help warm their blood, something rare among sharks. And this is why they outlived the giant monster's reign of terror. Cold-blooded Megalodon ruled everywhere except the freezing waters around the poles, which provided a refuge for the great whites. The Ice Ages wiped out Megalodon, so with it gone, the great white's fiery belly served it well. It can now claim the award for being the biggest carnivorous shark in the ocean. Size matters when enemies are about, and when they're not. It provides clues to a mysterious past. But even when you're successful, size has its limitations in raw nature.